Thank you for joining me. Today I'll be going over a game played in December 4th, 2019 by Magnus Carlsen against Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. And the reason that I'm choosing to show this game is because Black played a very good defense using the Sicilian. If you're not familiar with that, it's a move against, it's a defense against the e4 opening for white, which is very common. And I would agree that it's absolutely the best defense for Black. If you're not familiar with it, then check it out. A little pop-up will pop up in the top of your screen right now, so you can click it and learn about it. Anyways, so like I just explained, Magnus plays this e4 move, and I much prefer, by the way, just quickly, just to let you know, this d4 London opening. I think it's more powerful. If you're not familiar with the London, it's just a very easy opening for beginners, but it's also absolutely deadly against some of the best players. So if you're not familiar, another pop-up will pop up right now, and you can check it out. Anyways, let's begin. So like I said, e4 and that beautiful Sicilian defense with that c5 move. Most common is the thing that Magnus played, which is this G knight to f3, and a very common defense as well. Now, the reason that you want to bring this knight here is not only to allow this pawn to move forward, but mostly to be able to move this pawn up. Obviously, if he takes, you don't want your queen to be right now in the middle in the start, so this knight can now transfer to the middle, which is not the best square for the knight, but it's much better than a queen, and now you have some developments against this lonely little pawn here. But the Sicilian, it has many plans, like moving this knight. The problem with having a knight and a queen is this one lonely pawn here, unprotected. So this knight forces a move. Usually it will be that knight there, right there. And this is all a very used line, obviously. Here you open up this pawn. It might seem a little, weird. Why would you open up that pawn, pinning now the knight on purpose? But there's a very good reason for this. If bishop takes, queen takes, instead of a pawn being now doubled up on this file. So it's a good idea. And you can see that development-wise, white isn't doing too bad. But Black, and considering that Black, it always starts with a disadvantage, is doing great as well. Now pushing this bishop back, and the game evolves very naturally. I wouldn't say there is any kind of surprises. It's two GMs playing absolute, world-class chess. Here, they decided to take, and quickly leave in the comments below, what would you do? Pause the video. How would you take it? You can take with the rook, or you can take with the pawn. Both ways to take it. Pause the video. Leave in the comments, how would you take it? Okay, great. So I would suggest in this scenario to take it with this rook. Reason for that is a few reasons. Number one, you activate the rook. Number two, you make the rook have this lift. So usually you like to double up on these types of vertical things that move vertically as much as they want. So you have this double right there, and then the rook can move into these squares right there. Secondly, if you take with this pawn, you're now moving a pawn that's in the center, closer to the king, outside to a place that it blocks the rook, a place that it's not as useful, not at all. So Magnus saw this idea and takes with the rook. He drops it back because the only disadvantage is you can easily go with this, forcing a trade of some sorts. It's not a necessarily terrible trade. You take, they take, and then you can take with that knight, and it's not terrible. It's not terrible at all. But obviously, it would make this rook a little bit less comfortable. So pushing it back is a good idea. Still making sure not to push it back to this bottom line, so you can still stack up on the rooks, or the rook and the queen. Pushing the knight out. Taking a trade here. And right now, I'm sure you guys can see in the top of your screen right here, and also in the bottom right here, you can see that they're even. That being said, Maxime has a bishop against a knight right there. So, and I prefer bishops by quite a bit. Now that was a very interesting play. You can see that you'd tend to say, well, just move it out of the way, or move it out of the way. But he decides to target this rook. So it's a very interesting idea. And now Magnus has to protect this rook one more way. Now targeting the other rook, you can see that Maxime, even though it's tied, Maxime has a lot of pushes against areas that the king is. So it is a worthy move to start trading now, simplifying things, and just kind of make the board a little easier to see. Kicking the queen out, not by much though. You can see that the game is progressing quite rapidly. That was a pretty interesting move. Obviously not eating with that, just to kind of stay with the formation. Here, you can see that Magnus is seemingly doing great. And in this, if you were to pause, if you were to pause it right here, obviously it's not fair because one more move later, you have a take. But if you were to pause it right now, you can see Magnus is up 2 points, and it looks like Magnus is going to win, because even though I'm sure Maxime is very good at endgames, that's what Magnus is known for. So you'd suspect, but never be sure. You can see that now Maxime went for a trade a little bit, I wouldn't say bad, but just a little bit different than what you'd expect. I think most people expect for not to trade. Now here, you can see that you have to move the rook. You cannot move the queen and try to make an attack, because if you move the queen, it's absolutely deadly for your pieces in here, because you eat with the horse or with the rook. But let's say with the horse. Actually, no. You eat with the rook. You cannot eat it because of this. You can't move here. You have to move here, and then you can eat that, also forming another check. It's absolutely deadly, and the game would be over. So you'd have to move that. Now you're trying to move your king out of the way to be able to actually form some attacks. So you can see that even though Magnus is up 2 points, the game isn't over. Not at all, and you'd be surprised what happens. I'm skimming a little bit just to kind of show you the main ideas. And here, I'll pause one last time. Who's up? Maxime. It's very impressive that from only a couple moves ago being down 2, you're now into this endgame where, I mean, you're 90% of the time going to win. So you can see kind of race to who can get their pawns safe, and mostly safe, but safe and then obviously queens quickest. And you can see that there's a lot of tension in that right center middle of the game, and it's a very, very long move, but Maxime is very good at endgames here. Magnus quits. There's nothing he can do. It's a great move by Maxime, moving his king there instead of there, or there, or there. Not there, but By moving it here, you're still limiting this move here. So you can't get the pawn, which means that, well, as you can see, Magnus has absolutely nothing he can do. You get a queen here, he eats, you take as well, and I mean, a queen and a king is easy checkmate. So it's absolutely incredible from the middle of the game where Magnus was winning to winning. It's very impressive. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe for more analysis of videos, and leave your suggestions down below. Watch and like my other videos, please. It would help me out a lot. And I'll see you guys in the next video.